global banking infrastructure would mathematically collapse in less than 72 hours if the middle class suddenly stopped following the traditional rules of capital. Wall Street does not reward your obedience, it actively harvests it. Your biological need to be a responsible, rule-following professional makes you the perfect, predictable asset for a system engineered entirely to extract your life force. Right now, there is a rapidly closing window of opportunity to wake up and completely restructure your financial reality before the next wave of macroeconomic inflation permanently locks you into the working class. The elite desperately need you to remain compliant. They rely on your fear of stepping out of line. In the next few minutes, I am going to expose the highly guarded clinical architecture of the banking matrix. I'm going to show you exactly why the system targets intelligent, educated professionals and turns them into obedient financial slaves. The cost of your inaction today is mathematically devastating. If you choose to close this video right now to protect your fragile ego and defend your perfect corporate attendance record, you are making a conscious, voluntary choice to be liquidated. You are choosing to sacrifice your future freedom to fund the generational empires of the 1%. Society programmed a fatal logic virus into your brain from the moment you entered the education system. They told you that if you sit quietly, follow the instructions, memorize the textbook, and get excellent grades, you will eventually be rewarded with safety and prosperity. You carried this obedient behavior directly into the corporate world. You do exactly what your manager asks. You pay your taxes on time. You never question the fundamental mechanics of the economy. You believe that your unwavering obedience makes you a superior citizen. You are completely blind to the fact that your predictability is your greatest financial vulnerability. In the modern economy, following the rules is no longer a path to success. It is a meticulously designed protocol for guaranteed permanent poverty. How do banks harvest your financial obedience? When you analyze the raw, unfiltered data of the global credit markets, it becomes terrifyingly clear that the entire system is built on the back of middle-class compliance. To understand exactly why Wall Street absolutely loves your obedience, you must fundamentally understand the clinical mechanics of institutional leverage. Commercial banks and hedge funds do not generate massive profits by using their own capital. They generate asymmetrical returns by aggressively weaponizing your capital. And to do that, they need you to behave exactly as expected. Let us look at the brutal reality of fractional reserve banking. When you obediently deposit your hard-earned corporate paycheck into a traditional checking account, you believe your money is resting safely in a digital vault. You are wrong. The second your deposit clears the system, the bank legally seizes that capital and immediately deploys it. Because you are a responsible rule follower, the bank knows with absolute statistical certainty that you will not suddenly demand all your cash tomorrow. They rely on your predictable spending habits. They take your stagnant liquidity and lend it out to private equity firms, massive corporations, and the elite class at incredibly high interest rates. They use your life force to fund commercial real estate acquisitions, corporate buyouts, and advanced portfolio diversification strategies. They generate billions in compounding profits using your obediently saved money, and in return, they throw you a microscopic fraction of a percent in interest. You are taking 100% of the macroeconomic inflation risk, while they harvest 100% of the financial upside. This is not an accident. It is a highly optimized predatory extraction system. Wall Street desperately needs a massive population of educated, terrified professionals who are too conditioned by the school system to ever question where their money actually goes. If the middle class woke up tomorrow and collectively decided to execute aggressive capital allocation protocols, withdrawing their liquidity to buy hard assets, the entire banking matrix would experience a catastrophic liquidity crisis. Your unquestioning obedience is the only thing keeping their empire alive. What is the dark psychology of following the rules? The darkest part of this mathematical equation is not the banking architecture itself. It is the psychological conditioning of the victim. The middle class is entirely addicted to the identity of being a good, responsible employee. Your ego violently demands the comfort of external validation. You look at sovereign individuals who take extreme financial risks, people who break the traditional rules to build massive cash-flowing businesses, and you judge them. You call them reckless. You call them unethical. You soothe your own deep-seated anxiety by telling yourself that you are the morally superior one because you play by the rules. This is cognitive dissonance in its purest, most destructive biological form. Your primitive brain is terrified of the open market. It is terrified of facing the absolute accountability of sovereignty. So to protect you from the agonizing fear of making a mistake, your amygdala convinces you that submission is actually a form of intelligence. It frames your biological cowardice as corporate professionalism. The hidden cost of this rule-following mentality is total, paralyzing inaction. When you heavily identify as an obedient professional, you biologically block yourself from acquiring true wealth management skills. You refuse to study advanced behavioral finance because you mistakenly believe that simply showing up to work on time is enough to secure your future. You sit quietly in your cubicle, terrified of offending your manager, terrified of demanding what your time is actually worth, and terrified of leveraging debt to acquire appreciating assets. You meticulously follow the corporate handbook, totally unaware that the handbook was explicitly written to cap your earning potential. You are sacrificing the only life you will ever have to diligently build a comfortable, padded prison cell. Your willingness to follow the rules ensures that your freedom remains exactly at zero. Why is your corporate job a mathematical prison? If following the rules is a guaranteed mathematical loss for you, why does the global financial system relentlessly condition you to do it? Because your corporate employment is the ultimate mechanism of control. When you accept a corporate job, you enter into a fundamentally broken mathematical contract. You are trading your finite, irreplaceable hours on this planet for fiat currency. But fiat currency is constantly being diluted by central banks. Pause and write this exact concept down right now. A corporate salary is not a tool for building wealth. It is a sophisticated behavioral collar designed to keep you predictable. By strictly following the rules of the employment matrix, you are locking your income to a linear growth scale, while the actual cost of living increases on an exponential scale. You work 40 hours a week. You hit all your key performance indicators. You respectfully ask for a 3% annual raise, and you feel a pathetic sense of pride when they finally give it to you. You are completely oblivious to the fact that macroeconomic inflation has already secretly liquidated 7 to 10% of your purchasing power that same year. The corporate hierarchy is explicitly designed to keep you running on this exact treadmill. They give you a slightly better title, a slightly bigger desk, and a tiny bonus to trigger a release of dopamine in your brain. This neurochemical manipulation tricks your survival instinct into feeling secure. It creates an illusion of progress while mathematically ensuring you never actually escape. Because you are an obedient rule follower, you never calculate the true, devastating cost of your compliance. You never realize that the executives at the top of the pyramid are using advanced tax-advantaged accounts, stock options, and aggressive leverage to multiply their wealth, while you are being heavily taxed on your W-2 income. The system mathematically punishes you for being a good employee. How does the 1% weaponize the banking matrix? The 1%, the clinical architects of true generational sovereignty, do not follow the rules. They completely and utterly reject the traditional path of the obedient middle class. They operate on a ruthless, highly systematic protocol of absolute capital allocation. They understand that the rules were written by the wealthy, for the wealthy, to keep the poor safely contained. When an elite operator looks at the banking system, they do not see an authority to be obeyed. They see a machine to be exploited. They understand on a fundamental level that cash is a rapidly decaying liability. They experience a biological urgency to deploy capital into hard assets before inflation can touch it. They execute aggressive financial defensive protocols immediately. They buy commercial real estate. They buy massive equity positions in private businesses. They acquire scarce commodities. They build automated business systems that rely heavily on compound interest and institutional leverage. They do not want to be good employees. They want to be the owners of the infrastructure. They intentionally break the psychological rules of the middle class because they know that playing it safe is the most dangerous financial decision a human being can make. They endure the short-term discomfort of extreme market volatility because they are entirely focused on long-term generational wealth transfer. The elite understand that true wealth requires exploiting the system, not submitting to it. They use strategic debt to acquire massive assets, effectively shorting the fiat currency. They borrow the exact same cheap capital that you obediently left in your savings account, and they use it to buy the real estate that you now have to rent from them. It is a masterclass in asymmetrical financial warfare. They are the apex predators, and they feed entirely on the predictable behavior of obedient rule followers. What is the exact cost of your obedience today? Every single day you delay killing your obedient, middle-class identity, the open market mercilessly punishes you. The true, mathematical cost of your inaction today is absolutely devastating to your long-term survival. You are completely out of time to fix this. While you are sitting there, incredibly proud of your perfect resume and your spotless credit score, the fundamental rules of global capital are permanently shifting beneath your feet. The financial gap between those who aggressively own hard assets and those who obediently hold decaying cash is no longer a gap. It is an unbridgeable canyon. If you do not execute a sovereign financial protocol today, you will be forced to follow the rules until the exact day your physical body completely fails. You will rely on a broken, mathematically insolvent government pension system that will completely evaporate right when you actually need it the most. Your obedience will literally work you to death. You have a brutal binary choice staring you in the face right now. You can close this video, go back to your quiet cubicle, blindly trust your corporate manager, and remain a highly profitable, perfectly obedient slave for Wall Street. You can voluntarily choose to be the disposable battery that powers their institutional leverage. Or you can wake up and face reality. You can stop vehemently defending a rulebook that was explicitly designed to guarantee your poverty. You can ruthlessly murder your corporate ego, embrace the temporary clinical discomfort of the open market, and start executing the exact capital allocation protocols of the elite. You must immediately transition from the mindset of a frightened, obedient employee who begs the system for permission, to the mindset of a clinical architect who bends the system to their absolute will. The trap of the corporate prison is only inescapable if you willingly refuse to walk out the open door. Hit the subscribe button right now as your absolute declaration of financial sovereignty. Check the links in the description to access the exact defensive toolkits the elite use to structure their portfolios and protect their wealth from institutional extraction. Master the math, execute your ego, or prepare to be permanently liquidated by the system. See you in the next protocol.